Do you find it confusing how people tell you to be mysterious to be more attractive and get men chasing you, but they don't tell you how to stay mysterious when he starts asking you direct questions? Isn't it strange? Because if he was interested in you, then he would ask more about you. But then how do you speak about yourself while staying interesting and mysterious? See, the thing is, if you just had the right strategy, you could actually do this perfectly, which is why on today's show, we're going to discuss how to talk about yourself, but keep men chasing you. That way, even as he gets to know more about you, he still sees you as the woman of his dreams. Welcome to the Players Club. If you're paying attention to me and everyone else on the live stream, please say here present so I know you're here present and actively participating, okay? Welcome to all you beautiful souls in the live chat and the live stream, okay? We got Missy America holding down our beautiful YouTube chat there. I see we got Jazz, we got Rare, Special K, we got Tracy. Who else we got? I see Ashley. We got our YouTube member Ivy. She is always here and on time. And we got Enlightened A, one of our OGs as well. So we got Coco over in the YouTube chat. Who we got here in the YouTube chat? Oh, let me open up my Tickfinity here. Okay, so the YouTube chat pops up on the screen. We got Magdalene. Who we got? Tiana. I believe SH is here. I think I saw her name earlier. Let's see. We got Anna. We got Sharice, of course, is here. Welcome all you beautiful people. Brianna's here as well. Okay, nice to see all you beautiful, amazing souls. It's so good to see you. Okay, let's get started, and we shall discuss along the way. Okay, so let me just pull this up the right way. All right, let's get started here with number one. Why did I close my iPad? I'm such a silly goose today. I feel like being silly today. Okay, let's start with number one, and these are all going to be very important today. Okay, number one is going to be painting a picture, okay? Specifically, you want to be painting a very, very, very particular picture with these guys when you start talking about yourself. I know this is a pain point, which is why we're having the show, because I know this is a pain point for a lot of you. Because when I tell you, and other people tell you, be mysterious, let them talk, let them speak, things like that, right? You're kind of like, okay, yeah, it sounds good when you say it, but like in reality, when I go out on this date, like he's going to ask me, what about me? He's going to ask me, what do you think? What's your past like? What's your past relationships like? And then you think to yourself, well, Tomisin didn't tell me how I was supposed to respond to this. So I have an error code. I don't know if I'll be able to answer this one. And then you just blurt out, maybe we can skip that question. I don't think I have the answer to that question. And then he sits back and he thinks to himself, wait, what? You just asked me a whole bunch of questions that are super deep and super intimate. Then when I ask you simply, what about you? You can't even answer the question that you just asked. I get it. And it's very confusing to some of you. So this is why we're having this discussion here. So you can know how to share in a way that doesn't clue him into the fact that you're here to extract information, but then you can also get what you want out of the situation, which is extracting information, okay? You're not going to be able to do that if he feels like you're just here to ask him questions, but you're not here to speak about yourself or to share anything with him, okay? So it's very important that we have a strategy here. So painting a picture is number one and most important because it's going to be the overarching theme as to what everything you're going to be answering and talking about is going to consist of and why you're going to be answering it this way. Okay. So when I say painting a picture, what I'm referring to is you want, with the stories that you tell about your life and your past experiences, obviously you and this individual, this other man, have met now for the first time and you have just discovered of each other's existence now in dating. Maybe you might have been friends before, right? But in a sense, right, you have lived a whole life since before you've been out on this date. So you're trying to learn more about each other. Now, if you're strategic about it, you can paint a picture that puts you in the light that you want to be put in, that will have him receive you and treat you the way you want to be treated. See, the mistake comes is that a lot of you, when you're going out on these dates, you begin trauma dumping on men and begin just spilling out your heart, whatever you're thinking or feeling at that very moment. And in the process of that, you actually paint the wrong picture of yourself and you put him in a position where the way he receives you and what he thinks of you is less than, right? Or is like a peasant. Okay, you're giving off a lot of peasant energy. And so then when he deals with you, subsequently afterwards, he deals with you as if you're a peasant. right? He's learning about you as you're telling these stories about yourself, and especially these stories about your past relationships. So it's very important that you curate, I didn't say lie, that you curate what you tell him so that you're painting the right picture of yourself and how you want to be received by him. So let me give you a more direct example so that we're all on the same page of what I'm discussing here. So when I say paint a picture, let's say, for example, you're going out on a date with a guy, and you guys sit down. You guys are eating spaghetti. You're at an Italian restaurant. He's ordered the fettuccine Alfredo, and you've ordered your basic. So you ordered spaghetti and meatballs. Okay. And you got your spaghetti and meatballs, you're slurping it, and he says, so what about your last relationship? You asked me so many questions about your last relationship because of the questions that I told you to ask about, right? You've been asking them on the date. And now he's like, what about you? What's your most recent relationship been like, right? When I'm talking about painting a picture, right? Painting a picture is in the process of you answering this question, right? You want to be conveying to him a particular message without telling him that, right? Because that's how he's actually going to receive the message. So in the example, when you're talking about your past relationship and he asks you, okay, what about your most recent ex? Why did it end? See, what a lot of you will do is you'll make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, where do I start? Do you have 3 hours? Because I got to tell you how he cheated on me 30 times. He cheated on me with my sister, my best friend, my coworker. He went and he was trying to flirt with this girl and that girl. And I literally walked in and I caught him on the bed with this other girl. And then I was literally crying and it was so traumatic. And then he apologized to me and he said he'd never do it again. And I just felt like forgiving him. So I forgave him. And then the next 3 months of my life were literally hell. I just stayed there with him and I didn't know what to do with my life. I couldn't leave and I couldn't speak up for myself. And then he was just cheating and cheating and cheating. And I begged him to stop. And then finally he one day just woke up and then he got on with this new girlfriend. And I don't know what to do with my life. And I'm so sad. And sometimes he texts me and you're just spiraling, trauma dumping and spiraling. The worst two things to do. Telling him about all the different ways he's mistreated you and hurt you and all that good stuff. Now, listen to me. I understand that, yes, that's your truth. I understand, yes, that's your story. I understand, yes, you're just trying to communicate to him exactly what you think and feel and what's honest and true to you, okay? I'm not saying that when you go out and you're in these, you're dating these guys, and you're talking about yourself or sharing about yourself, that you should begin lying about your past or lying about your experiences. However, like I said earlier, I want you to curate the way you tell him stories so that he will receive those stories and those past experiences in the particular light that you want him to see it in. So that's the mistake that a lot of you guys will give in the example. What I want you to do when you're painting a picture is I want you to tell that same story like this. I want you to say, yeah, I was dating this guy and, at first things were going well and I thought this was a relationship that I would be able to be in for the rest of my life. But, as a couple particular things happened in the relationship, he cheated on me. I realized that this relationship was not for me and I'm not going to tolerate someone who cheats on me. I'm not going to tolerate someone who disrespects me. I'm not going to tolerate someone who goes behind my back or is dishonest with me. And so the relationship ended after I realized that he was not the person I was looking for. And now he has no way of contacting me. He'll never see or speak to me ever again. And I'm never going to put myself in a situation where I'm willing to deal with someone like that in my life ever again. So that was kind of the reason that ended, but I'm glad that it ended. I'm very glad and I'm very happy for the experience because it taught me a lot and it taught me what I'm never going to be looking for ever again. Okay. You see how you're telling the same story and the same gist, right? You're communicating the same thing and the same experiences, but you're painting a very different picture about yourself in the way that you communicate that story. Are you following me so far, right? Because in the first way that I communicate that story, the communication is I allow people to walk all over me. I am a pushover. I let this guy use me and abuse me. I let him treat me however he wanted to treat me. I let him cheat on me as many times as he wanted to cheat on me. He was able to get back into my life and apologize even though he didn't deserve my forgiveness, right? And it paints you as a very weak person who's weak-minded with no willpower that cannot stand up for yourself. right? The second version is the same experiences, but you're painting a picture as in, yes, those things happened to me, but those things happening to me made me realize that I'm worth way more than that. And I will never accept being treated like that. And the moment I realized that, that was the moment the situation was over. And I'm never going to look back on that situation ever again. That person doesn't have access to me. That person can't speak to me. That person can't even smell my farts. Okay. That person is a peasant to me, can't even scrape the gum off the bottom of my shoe. Right. And you paint the picture as if, as in, yes, that person made the mistake of mistreating me, because once they made the mistake of mistreating me, they lost out on me forever. Right. And it puts you in a very different light, where you convey the type of person that stands up for themselves, that knows their worth, that knows their value. And then that tells him, oh, okay, so clearly the men that mistreat her, she's not about the BS. So if I am going to come here and start BSing her, she's going to walk away very quickly and very easily. She's clearly smart enough to identify what she doesn't want. So clearly, if I'm going to play around with her and be what she doesn't want, she's not going to be with me. Okay. You're telling him that without telling him that. You're telling him that by painting him a picture. Okay. This is how powerful this stuff can be. Right. And I know that I tell you guys not to spend so much time talking about yourself. Right. And to ask him more questions. But the reality of it is, in a regular date, right, in the span of you dating someone, of course, if they're interested in you and they like you, they're going to ask you some questions about you as well. It's not just going to be only pointed towards him, where he's asking, or you're asking him all the questions and he's answering all the questions, right? So we want to come up with the strategy for you on how you can answer questions about yourself and be true to yourself. I don't want you guys to lie, but I do want you guys to be strategic about how you paint the picture and how you present yourself, because when you're telling these stories about your last experiences, especially your exes and how they treated you and why those relationships ended, right? When you're telling these detailed stories, these are also conveying to him and telling him, oh, this is how you've been accustomed to being treated by guys, or this is what you've allowed in the past. That will start cluing into his mind, what can I get away with you? So because this is the natural inclination. I'm going to tell you the truth. I told you guys this before. Guys always think they're better than your last guy. So when you start dating a new guy and you're telling him about your ex, in his mind he's thinking, what a bum of a man. That man couldn't even shine my shoes. I'm way better than that peasant of a man that you were dating. He's a bum. You're with me now. I'm not no bum. You know what I mean? That's what all guys are thinking in their mind. So if they're thinking that they're so much better than your ex, and you're telling him how your ex mistreated you and disrespected you and cheated on you 100 times, well, then he's thinking to himself, I got to cheat on you at least 200 times. And you better stay, because I'm way better than that man. And I have way more to offer you than that man. So if you're going to let him mistreat you, then it's my turn to mistreat you now too. Okay, you're not going to have a bum mistreat you and stay with him. But then when it comes to me, I'm going to treat you like a perfect princess. And then you're going to hold me to such different standards. No, hold me to the same standard you held him to. That's what he's going to be thinking in his mind subconsciously. I know it sounds strange. I know it sounds weird, but that's the truth. When you tell guys about how badly your last guy treated you and how much you stayed despite him treating you so badly, and how much you endured and were able to forgive, all that tells him is, okay, well, then that's exactly what you should be enduring with me. Actually, even more. Okay. Right? So make sure you're very keen on the type of picture you're painting, and you're painting the picture of yourself that you're not someone who is willing to deal with any amount of BS. You don't tolerate BS. You're not here for no BS, and you know exactly how to quickly spot BS. Okay? You want to be painting the picture too that you're someone who knows what you're looking for and knows what you're not looking for. And you're not attached, and you're not attached to the idea that it has to be you and him that ends up together. You're just looking for the type of relationship that you know you require for the rest of your life. And if that's not him, then you're happy to walk away. Right? Jack Lita says, example, am I bigger, better than your exes? Well, are you saying like that's what the guys will ask? I mean, guys might ask that, but in their mind, they're always going to be thinking that they're bigger and better than your exes, right? So when you tell him how bad your other ex was, then he's going to be, or how bad he treated you, he's going to be thinking, I should treat you even worse, okay? Or I deserve to, at least, right? Dinah says, I thought we should never tell men, the men we date, that we've been cheated on before. I'm glad you said that, Diana. Okay. I want to be very clear. I'm going to encourage you guys to lie about your life or your past or your relationships. Okay. There's also nothing embarrassing or shameful about being cheated on. There's something very embarrassing or shameful about being cheated on and then forgiving the person who didn't even deserve to be forgived by you, staying with that person and having them continue to disrespect you and use you and take advantage of you. That's very different. Okay. That is actually shameful. And that speaks to the fact that you're weak and you're a pushover. Okay. Because anyone can get cheated on, right? Anyone can get the wool pulled over their eyes and have their partner go behind their back. That's not necessarily your fault. But when you find out about it, how you respond to it, that's the one that's on you. Okay. So I say that to say, in what Diana said, right? You can communicate to a guy that you've been cheated on, but then in the same breath that you communicate that you've been cheated on, you make it very clear that once you discover this is what the relationship was and this is how he was going to treat you or treat this relationship, finito. It was done for him. It was over for him. He had no second chances, no third chances, no whatever chances. And for those of you who that's not the case and you forgave that guy multiple times, I want you to communicate that in the process of the relationship that you realize that it wasn't for you, and then that's when it ended, and then that's it. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to go into detail saying I forgave him 30 million times, okay? But I do want you to make it very clear, even if you're going to communicate someone cheated on you, that that's it for them. It's done for them now. And at this point in your life, you've realized the mistakes that were made and that person will never have access to you again. Very important that you end off whenever you start, especially whenever you start talking about your past relationships, that you always end it with the concept and the idea that this man that disrespected me and mistreated me cannot even shine my shoes anymore. He can't text me. He can't call me. He can't contact me. He can't reach out to my friends. He won't get no response from me ever in life, ever again. Okay? That you really, really need to follow up anytime you talk about your past relationships or any guy that mistreated you, you need to follow it up with that. And if that's not the case for you, then you need to fix that. Because you look very, very weak if you allow someone to disrespect you, but then they still have access to you. So if that's not you, right, if that's not true to you and that's not the truth for you, then that's the thing that you need to be fixing or adjusting first before you even start going out on dates. Okay? Because if you don't have situations taken care of and sealed up and put away, and you're trying to go out on dates with your heart still unhealed and things still open, then you're not even in a position to be dating. Okay? Does that make sense? Right? Chrissy says, see, my problem is I don't tell men anything about my ex and they don't like that. See, this is exactly, I love that you said that, because this is exactly why we're having this conversation here today. Because I know this is something that probably a lot of people haven't talked to you guys about, and something that's probably confusing to you guys, because I'm sure you've heard before from other people aside from just me, be mysterious, let them talk, let them speak, listen, ask good questions and things like that. But they don't talk about the reality that you're going to get some questions asked back to you as well. And then how you should go about that. Because yes, guys are going to find it very suspicious if the moment they ask you, after you finish asking them 100 different questions that I've talked to you about their ex and their past relationship, going in depth about everything, then they ask you what was your last relationship like, and then you're like, you freeze up and you go, actually, let's skip that question. I don't want to talk about that. It's very suspicious. Right? And people are going to get clued into the fact, right? Anyone who has a little bit of intelligence going to get clued into the fact that you're trying to extract information from me that you're not even willing to share yourself. So this is an interrogation. This isn't even a conversation. And see, that's where you lose, because you don't want guys to clue into the fact that you're interrogating him or gathering information on him. You want to enchant him. We've talked about that before. You want to enchant him where he feels so good about this conversation that he doesn't realize how much he's sharing with you. Does that make sense? Right? So I do want you to tell them about your exes, but I also want you to make it clear that whatever happened in that relationship, you understand that it happening is, and the reason that it ended, and you understand that these men are not going to have any sort of access to you now in the future because of the things that transpired. You understand why it's bad, and you're not here to forgive it or apologize for it, and you would never stand by it or forgive that person for the way that they disrespected you. You understand what I'm saying? It has to be clear that once you realize that this was the case with that relationship, that it's absolutely over now. Okay. Because, and you actually want the ability to show guys or tell guys through the stories that you tell them that once someone messed up with you, there was no second chance. That was it. Because that shows them that they're already on thin ice. Okay. So that's good. If your ex cheated on you and then you guys broke up, or your ex disrespected you and then you guys broke up and that was it for him, that shows him, hey, if you do that, you're done. There's no second chance. There's no conversation. There's no apology. You're just done. The same way my ex was done. Right. So don't be scared to tell guys about your past relationships. Now, if, like I said, if you're someone who hasn't been taking care of those past relationships in terms of like cutting them off completely and putting that person out of your life where they don't have access or contact with you anymore, that's what you need to be taking care of. Because if you're not taking care of that, then you can't honestly say that this situation is done, they don't have access to me, and yada, yada, yada. Make sense? Okay, so number one, I want you to be painting a picture. Number two is going to sound very strange, but similar to number one, I want you to be telling horror stories. Okay? I want you to be telling horror stories that literally make him shake in his boots, that if he ever were to even dream of doing that to you, he would be done faster than he can spell it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You want to tell guys some of these horror stories of the quickness with which you cut guys out of your life who are not willing to show up for you in the way that you expect them to show up for you. I know in your mind, you're thinking, when I tell them that, it's going to make me sound like a B word. He's going to think I'm such a B word. I'm such a mean girl. I don't have any forgiveness. I have such a cold heart or whatever. And I'm not willing to let people get a second chance. Yes. That's exactly what you want. You want him to think you're a B word. You want him to think that you're cold. You want him to think that you don't give people a second chance. Yes. That's exactly what you want him to think. Why? Because he'll respect you and he'll fear you. I know it doesn't sound nice and cuddly and bubbly and like rainbows and sunshines and butterflies. You want him to respect you and fear you. And you want that process to begin from the very jump, where he's thinking to himself, oh God, she is not with the games at all. Oh God, I was thinking about just messing around here, just having a little bit of fun. She is not that let's just have a little bit of fun girl. And see, what happens is when guys realize that, they'll realize they're not stupid, okay? They'll realize that in the process of you having conversation with you and meeting you, they're like, oh, she's not the play around girl. Yeah, I might have messed up here because I know that I'm not here to take things seriously, and she's not going to even give me an opportunity to mess around with her. When guys realize that, they're forced to come to a decision. They either say to themselves, this is a waste of my time because I know I'm only here to waste your time, right? And clearly you're not someone who can be persuaded or convinced or tricked into doing what I want you to do. So I'm wasting my time by being here with you, thinking that this is going to work out in me extracting Squirtle from you without giving you commitment, because clearly you're on your P's and Q's and you know about everything that I could possibly bring to you to trick you into that. So then they go to themselves, all right, this is probably not the relationship for me because I already knew I was just here to play games. Okay. Or they say to themselves, well, let me make sure I stand up straight and I get a grip and I present myself properly, because I know I'm already starting off on thin ice and she's aware of everything that goes on. So if I come here and I mess around, I'm not going to get a second chance. And I actually want to be with this girl. So either his commitment to you or his desire to actually grow this relationship with you is going to make him stand up straight and actually respect you and try and do the right thing. Or he's going to realize that I was only here to play games with you. And I know you're not here to even deal with games. And you're not the type of girl that will allow games to happen. So I'm not even going to waste my own time with you. Okay. Right? They're not necessarily doing it as a favor to you. They're doing it as a favor to themselves because they don't want to waste their time on someone who can't be broken, as horrible as that sounds. Okay. And I'm telling you this because when we meet women and we're going on these dates with women, and especially if we know that we're not really here to be super serious with the girl that we're on a date with, we're looking to see, are you one of these girls that I can break? Are you one of these girls that I can manipulate? Are you one of these girls that I can convince and trick and utilize and take advantage of? Right? And we're learning that in the process of learning you. If you are, and I know I'm here to play games, perfect. I'll give my time and attention to you and I'll utilize you for exactly for what I want to utilize you for. But if I know I'm just here to trick you or take advantage of you and you're not one of those girls that seems like you can easily be taken advantage of, I'm just going to go look for a girl who is. Okay, so you actually do yourself a huge favor because you get rid of the men who are here to just take advantage of you and utilize you. And you own the men that are actually invested in you are the only ones that end up staying because they're the only ones that end up seeing it as worth their time. Does that make sense to you guys so far? Right? Don't be scared of that too. Don't be scared of that. Don't be scared of guys coming to the realization that it's not worth their time because they're here to waste time with you. I know some of you get all worried that, oh my God, but what if when I tell him the horror stories, he thinks that I'm a B-word and then he realizes he probably doesn't want to be with a girl who's as mean and as stern as me. Good. Then you've got rid of someone who wasn't serious with you. Right? Or even prepared to be serious with you. And you're making the process more and more efficient for yourself. Don't be such a anxious person, hoping that every single guy that you meet will like you and adore you, that you're trying to figure out how you can be more liked by him by not making yourself seem like a mean girl. Okay? Because at the end of the day, if he doesn't like you because you're a mean girl or a stern girl that doesn't like to play around and mess around, well, then you've just gotten rid of someone who you wouldn't even want in your life anyways. So don't be worried about the fact that he might not like you or want to spend time with you because you're not as easy as the other girls. Okay, don't be worried about that. So now an example of a horror story, right, would be let's say you're talking about I think was it Ivy or who was it? Was it Ashley that brought it up, right? Let's say for example, you went out with a guy and he was let's say making some really inappropriate jokes to you when you were on the date, and you told him how you didn't appreciate the way he was speaking to you. Maybe he was calling you names, maybe he was just talking to you super disrespectful, and you tell him a story about how this one guy took you out on a date, right, one time or whatever time, and he took you out on this date, or in the process of you dating, you realized he was really disrespectful in the way he spoke to you, and then you just got up and you walked out of the date. Like right there, you took your bag, you took your stuff, and before the food even came, you got up and you walked out of the date because you don't have time to be dealing with a disrespectful man, especially after you've told him about it and communicated it to him, and then he still pays it no mind, right? And so was it Ivy that said it, or was it Ashley, right? And so when you're telling him that story, you're going to make yourself look like a B word, but that's good. You're also making it look like you're someone who doesn't mess around. That's a horror story to him because he's thinking in his mind, oh, geez, damn. Okay, so clearly she's not going to be willing to stick around and deal with something past a certain point. So if she tells me, now he's thinking in his mind, this is how his wheels are spinning, right? He's thinking, okay, so if she tells me she don't like something and she don't appreciate me doing something, that really means I got to figure out how to make an adjustment because she just told me a story and gave me an example of how another guy wasn't making the adjustment properly, and she just walked out on the date. And I kind of like this girl, so I better make sure I'm on my P's and Q's. And if she ever communicates to me she don't like something, I got to figure out how I'm going to make that adjustment. Okay? That's the way. See, this is the way that you clue into guys. You better respect me and you better treat me with the value that I actually have. If you don't, I'll be gone. Right? This is how you show them that, even through the way that you're telling stories without directly telling them, hey, you better value me. Hey, you better see me as the woman of your dreams. Hey, you better respect me. Okay? You don't need to tell him that, but in the stories and the picture that you paint, right? That you tell and the picture that you paint, you will communicate that to him and he will come to that conclusion by himself. It's the same thing as what we always talk about in the Players Club, where the most powerful way to get people to do what you want them to do is never by forcing them to do it by telling, hey, you do this, right? Hey, you better do this or else, right? You plant seeds and allow those people, specifically for you, the men, you allow those men to feel like whatever thoughts or inspiration or ideas that he has, they came to him naturally because that's what he naturally thought or was inspired by through his own perspective, right? And you let him feel like those were his own original thoughts and feelings, but in reality, you were strategic and you planted those seeds that in turn grew in his mind and sprouted into beautiful large trees with deep roots, not realizing that they actually came from the seed that you planted. Okay, I know it sounds manipulative. That's because it is. You'll get what you want, though, from the men. I always tell you guys that, right? What we talk about here might not necessarily sound the most healthy. It might sound toxic. It definitely will sound toxic to some people, but that's okay. Okay, you'll be one of the only girls in the world actually getting what you want from men and actually having them wrapped around your finger. Meanwhile, all the other girls complaining about how manipulative and toxic it is will be the ones crawling on glass, sniffing guys' butts, begging them for their attention, and then looking at you and saying, what's your secret? How do you do it? I want to get like you because all the men are chasing after you. See how that works? Okay. Does that make sense? Mine says, yeah, I tell every boyfriend that I'm quick to leave. Pretend you don't exist if you mess up. That's good. That's good. Right? And mine says my boyfriend was spooked by this. It's good, right? When you start telling them horror stories, when you start, even if it's not even necessarily just of your past relationship, just of guys that have like messed up their opportunity with you, it speaks heavily to the fact that, hey, you don't take this seriously, you'll mess up your opportunity and you'll mess it up for good. That's the double-headed sword. You want guys to feel like I'm already on thin ice, right? And you don't tolerate a lot. And even if I do mess up, there is no second chance. There is no coming back. There is no, oh, but I was just having a bad day. And so that's why I disrespected you that day. And I apologize. It'll be better tomorrow, right? You want them to already start off feeling like, oh my God, I better make sure I do this the right way. I better make sure I speak to you the right way. I better make sure I go about dating you the right way. Right? Because there is no coming back if I mess this up. Okay? It's just innate in people. When you set standards and expectations for people, even indirectly, they're like, okay, I need to meet standards and expectations. When you have no standards or expectations for people, what ends up happening is even if they want to treat you right, they end up not treating you right because they're like, there's no standards or expectations. Even if I don't treat you right or I mistreat you, there's no consequences for that, and there's no expectation that I'll meet any sort of standard or threshold, right? Right? He says, if you don't like something he does, like a deal breaker, how do you say that, but want him to say? See, that's the thing. See, okay, this is the thing that we have to actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that, H, because this is the thing that we have to discuss, and we have to discuss honestly, is that in the process of you telling him these horror stories, none of this works if you tell him horror stories only to show him something different. So what I mean by that is when Hedge was saying, if he does something that's genuinely a deal breaker to you, then you have to have in your mind, if you present to me a deal breaker for me, I'm walking away. It's done. You're done. It's over for you. You're cooked. You're literally cooked. You're well done. You're burnt. It's over. Right? And you literally have to have that in your mind, that you're perfectly ready to walk away from someone who presents to you one of these deal breakers, if you want to call it. Right? That way, when it actually does present yourself, you're actually prepared to walk away. Because here's the problem. Some of you, when someone presents to you a deal breaker, you already want to forgive them. So you're just hoping that they'll apologize to you so that you can forgive them and you guys can go back to being in your relationship or your situationship or whatever. And because your approach is like that, what ends up happening is instead of you actually standing on business, instead of you actually having him face consequences for those standards or expectations, you're just praying and hoping and begging him that he'll apologize or be apologetic for how he treated you, because you're not even prepared to walk away. So rather than him coming to you saying, please don't walk away, I'll do anything for your forgiveness, I'll do anything to make this situation right. Instead, you're the one coming to him saying, please apologize, please be apologetic, please fix your behavior because I want to stay with you. And when you come to guys like that, they don't have any respect for you and they don't even feel sorry for what they did. Instead, they'll gaslight you, or they'll deny or invalidate your feelings because you're the one begging him to apologize to you. You're the one begging him to be sorry about the situation and make an adjustment, instead of him coming to you because he wants you. See, it might seem like it's very small in terms of the difference in the approach, but the difference in the approach is the difference between actually getting what you want versus not getting anything at all. Because that's what a lot of you have been doing. You've been begging for guys to apologize, begging for guys to be sorry, begging for the guy to treat you right. And he says to himself, you're pathetic. You're pathetic. And you know, and I know, you're only begging because you're not going to leave me either way. This is why I always tell you guys, the most powerful thing you can possess in your power is respect and fear, not adoration and love and all that other, because the love and the appreciation and the adoration and the interest, all of that comes to me, at least. You talk to anyone else, they might think differently. To me, that comes from the respect and the fear. The fear that they feel that if they don't act right, you'll walk away, and then the respect they have of you because of how you carry yourself. Right? And through that fear and respect, they act correctly. And when they don't act correctly, they try to fix their behavior and adjust their behavior. When they don't have respect or fear for you, that's when they start acting however they want to act. That's when they start doing whatever they want to do. That's how they start basically forcing you to be the one chasing after them. And you're almost like begging for their apology and begging for them to actually care. Right? Ivy says they're afraid of looking like simps. Here's the thing. That's one of those myths that's not actually true. Because yeah, you could say guys are afraid of looking like simps. But all the guys say that, but then how many guys are under all these IG models pictures commenting, "Oh my God, you're my dream woman. Oh my God, I would do anything for you. Oh my God, can I sniff the seat of your pants?" How many people do you see making videos and putting under Ice Spice comment, "Oh my God, I would drink your bathwater. Oh my God, can I get a little bit of that twerk wind?" Those are the same men saying that, "Oh, we don't simp over girls." So clearly it's not very accurate. It's not very true. They'll simp over the right girl or a girl. But they'll say, "Oh, we don't simp over girls. We don't simp over girls." But trust you me, when the right girl comes along, they're going to simp. It's just natural to men. Okay? So you can elicit that from men if you have a particular type of approach. Okay? And it's not, like I said, you don't have to have the biggest dump truck. You don't have to have the hugest yitties, right? The most voluptuous yitties or the smallest waist. Okay? You can do that even without those things. Okay, so don't worry. By the way, I wanted to acknowledge earlier in the chat here, very early on, we had 2 people become channel members in the YouTube chat. I want to acknowledge them. So Angela and became one of our channel members just now. So congratulations to Angela. Let's give her a round of applause. And Julie also became a channel member as well. So let's give her a round of applause. That's on YouTube, guys, for you guys on TikTok. Okay, you can't really you can become a subscriber on TikTok, but not a channel member. Okay, but thank you so much to Julie and Angela for becoming channel members. Okay, so next, so paint a picture was number 1, horror stories number 2. Okay, now number 3, I want you to be paying very close attention. Okay, lean in now. It's time for you to listen. Get off the toilet. If you're on the toilet, stand up straight now. Stop pooping. Stop peeing. Okay, stop brushing your teeth. Stop eating. Stop whatever you're doing. Okay. Hands out of your pants. Let's focus now. Okay, number 3, I want you to be extremely vague on your desires. Now, there's a reason for that. Okay, this is not going to make sense to some of you. I want us to explain this and to talk about this in detail so that we can all be on the same page. Here's what happens. When you go out on dates with a guy, right? Let's say you go out on a date with the guy that you met on wherever. You met him at the grocery store. Now you guys are on a coffee date. What's going to happen is when you're on this coffee date, obviously you guys are going to go back and forth talking about what you guys like, what your past relationships were, things like that. Then you're going to get to the point where he starts asking you questions like this. What are you looking for in a guy? What do you want in a guy? Right? Natural question, doesn't seem like it means any harm. Here's the thing though. that I have to acknowledge with you as the truth so that you can understand the strategy and why you should go about it in a different way. The problem with that is the moment guys start asking you, what do you want in a man, right? What are you looking for? Your inclination is to tell him each and every one of your most intimate, deepest desires in a man and what you're looking for and what you want, what your fantasies are. And when I say fantasies, I'm not talking about like dirty fantasies. I'm talking about like, I would just love if a guy were to buy me flowers and just one random day and just show up at my door with like flowers and then take me out on this fancy dinner on a boat ride to go here and go there and do this and do that. And it would just be such a romantic night where we could look up at the stars and hold hands and just be like one and just feel like we're just sharing so much love, right? Yes, I know that that's your dream. I know that that's your fantasy. I know that that's what you want to live out, okay? And I'm not saying you're a bad person for wanting to live that out. I want you to live that out. Here's the thing though. I need you to understand when you tell guys those things at the very beginning, before you've even identified if he's the guy that you're looking for, what a lot of guys will do with that information is they'll take it and they'll say to themselves, okay, now I know if I want to get in your heart, specifically get in your squirtle, as quickly and as efficiently as possible, then I should do exactly what you just told me, because you basically just gave me the key to your heart. Now I know I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time thinking about how do I present myself, how do I show my love, how do I show my affection, how do I make her like her more. You literally told me how to make you like me more. You literally told me exactly what you're looking for. You literally told me exactly how to do it. So I'll just do that. And when I do that, you'll think that this is your Disney princess movie. You'll think that the heavens have opened up and now you're finally realizing that your Prince Charming is right in front of you. And this is everything you've ever dreamed of. This is everything you've ever imagined. This is everything you've ever fantasized about. And you're literally going to believe that this is real and this is the truth. Meanwhile, all he did was study the playbook that you gave him, utilize that playbook on you. He'll sleep with you because you think this is your moment, because you think you're building something, because this looks exactly like and feels exactly like the fantasy you were describing. And then when he sleeps with you, he's going to say, wow, that was an amazing 90 seconds. I'm going to go off and do something totally different now, and I'll probably speak to you in the next 2 weeks. Okay? And then you go, wait, I'm sorry. Wait, what? I thought this was the Disney princess. I thought this was the time where now that we slept together, I get on your white horse and then you take me to a land far, far. I think that's what I read in my fantasy book. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take me to a land far, far away. He says, no, actually there's no land far, far away. And he rips all the posters down. You realize that the view is like digital, like nothing's real. Okay. Right? And he's like, there's no white horse. There's no nothing. I'm not even Prince Charming. I'm actually a broke bum on the street. I actually have nothing to offer you. And I want nothing to do with you. I just wanted to sleep with you. And then you're like shell shocked while he walks out the door. Okay? Now, the reason I say that is because it really happens. I know it sounds funny, but it really happens. And that is the problem when you start telling guys all your deepest, darkest desires and wants and needs in a guy. You need to be vague. Okay? I don't know how else to put this, and I don't know how to make it sound healthier or better, but you just need to be vague with men and not tell them exactly what you're looking for so they don't have that information to use. I always tell you guys that whoever wins, right? The winner of all these relationships or any of these dating stages, the winner will always be the person who gathers the most information before they make any drastic decisions, okay? So for you only win if you gather a lot of real and truthful information before sleeping with him. Vice versa, he wins if he gathers a whole bunch of information about you that leads to him being able to sleep with you quicker and more efficiently, right? And once he gathers that information, because his version of information will be understanding what you need and what you want. Once he gathers that information, he gets to use that information on you to sleep with you and get what he wants from you. You see how that works? I know it sounds like a villain arc story, but it's the honest truth. So you need to be vague with your desires with men, even when you're talking to men, to keep yourself in a place where he can chase you and continue desiring you. Because if he's actually interested in you, this is how you weed men out. If he's actually interested in you and actually wants to pursue you, you don't want to be cluing him in to exactly what to do for you that you're not actually sure. Are you doing this because you actually want me and are trying to pursue me, or are you doing this because this is the playbook on what I said would get the easiest access to my Squirtle? Do you understand? Right? And how that can actually work against you and serve to your detriment. Right? So don't be giving them so much detail about what you want and what you're looking for. Be very vague. So for example, if a guy asks you what you're looking for in a man, rather than telling him that whole fantasy story, I want you to tell him instead, I'm looking for a guy who's nice. I'm looking for a guy who's funny. I'm looking for a guy who's interesting. Then when he says, like interesting, like how, like what is he going to talk about? Where is he going to take you? Where do you want to go out on dates? Just say, you know what? I really enjoy, a man who just takes initiative and tries things and does things. I'm sounding so vague in the way I'm saying it, right? And just tries his best, right? You could just keep going out on the loop of just being vague and not really giving an answer. Even if you have to play dumb and say, I don't know, I'm not even sure. Maybe I'll know it when I see it, right? And just play dumb like you don't. I haven't thought of it. I haven't given it much thought, so that he'll drop it and not press it. Because some guys are going to try and press it because they know that information is valuable. But the more vague you are, he can't hold on to anything. What's he going to do with I like guys who are funny? What's he going to do with I like guys who are interesting? What's he going to do with I'm looking for a guy who can be committed? What does that do for him? Right? Like none of those vague, generic thing. I'm looking for a guy who's nice. What is that supposed to do for him? He doesn't have any pathway he doesn't have any playbook on what he should be doing for you specifically. So now his only choices are fumble around and just make up some stuff that maybe you might find interesting or you might like or might work on you, when he's risking that maybe it doesn't. Maybe you realize that he's a fraud and maybe you don't end up sleeping with him, right? Or his options are, no, I'm actually serious here, and so I'm going to genuinely pursue you because I genuinely want to be with you and I genuinely want to build this relationship with you. Then for you, it'll become a lot easier to observe guys under the umbrella of, okay, if you're pursuing me without the playbook, right, and you're doing these things and taking action on these things, it's actually coming from a place of intention because you actually want to build something here, not because this is the playbook I gave you on exactly what to do. Does that make sense? So when he shows up at your door with flowers to take you out on a super fancy dinner date, it's not because you told him that you were hoping a guy would one day give you flowers and take you on a fancy dinner date. It's because that's genuinely how he felt about you and what he wanted to do for you. Okay? Now, I want to preface what I just said by also telling you it's not a crime to tell your boyfriend what you want and what would make you feel good and communicate to him what you enjoy, okay? And how you enjoy to be treated. Now, that's very different from telling a stranger that a stranger can utilize that information to pull the wool over your eyes, okay? So let's be very clear on that. I'm not saying don't communicate to your boyfriend, but you definitely don't want to be giving all this information to a guy that you just met where you don't even know if he's actually going to utilize that information to grow a relationship with you or if he's going to utilize that information to manipulate you. You understand what I'm saying? Right? Jocelyn says, I'm finally learning to use all of this. I'm glad. Right? Does that make sense so far? Okay. Katie says getting flowers is great, but when the man really enjoys to give them, it's chef's kiss. It's yes, I agree. And it's good to have that understanding of if he's doing that because this is part of his pursuit of you, or if he's doing that because this is part of the playbook that you gave him. Okay. Very, very dangerous to be giving guys the playbook on you. I know it sounds like it shouldn't be that dangerous because it sounds like it's just communication. But the truth of the matter is not every guy that you go out on a date with is here to build a long-term, lifelong relationship with you. And so you giving guys access to that information that aren't here to do that is only ending up hurting you in the long run. Okay, does that make sense? I don't want that for you. So we talked about painting a picture. We talked about horror stories. Right, we talked about vague desires, right? Next, number 4, I want you to be anticipating. Okay. Specifically, I want you to anticipate the fact that when you ask him questions, because we've talked about in previous shows, the type of questions that are really good to ask men and to help you gather information. Because remember, this is a game of who can get the most information, right? In the process of you asking questions, obviously men are also that are interested in you at the very least are going to ask you, what about you? They're going to also want to know about you. They're going to also want to know about your past relationships and your past exes and what you think and your perspective and all that good stuff. I want you to be anticipating that. And I want you to be actively thinking about how you can give him answers, right? About yourself. Excuse me here. I just want to make sure I do this before it goes times out. You also want to make sure you're giving answers about yourself in a fashion that doesn't clue him into the fact that you're here to gather more information about him, right? But you also don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on yourself, and damn sure don't want to spend any time trauma dumping about yourself, that it starts to be about you and he is now the one gathering information on you instead of vice versa. So when I say anticipate the fact that he's going to ask you questions back, I actually want you to prepare some of your answers that you're actively thinking about. How am I going to answer this question as quickly and as efficiently as possible without cluing him into the fact that I'm actually not trying to spend too much time on this? Okay. So for example, when we talked about a guy asking you about your most recent ex and why it ended, I actually want you to be thinking about how you're going to answer that question while painting the picture that, hey, I'm not someone to mess around with, but I want you to be thinking about how do I answer that question quickly and efficiently without getting too in depth and trauma dumping and going in detail about everything that goes on. Now, I'm not saying that you should never let him in on more that went on in your past relationship when you guys are down the road and you guys are actually in a serious long-term relationship. But at the beginning, you want to be very efficient with your time and not spend so much time telling him all the intricate details of your last relationship and how he mistreated you and how he disrespected you. None of that's really important, and none of that helps accomplish your goal of extracting information from him. Okay, so you need to be anticipating that. And if he were to ask you that type of question, you need to be thinking, okay, so I'm going to tell you, so my last ex, he cheated on me, and I'll tell you how I found that out. Well, he was texting this one girl and that, he worked with, and then there was a couple things that happened, and then one thing led to another, and I realized that he was going out on dates with her. When I realized that, it was absolutely done for him. I don't have time for that. I got a whole bunch of stuff on my schedule, and I got a whole bunch of guys who would be more than willing to treat me way better than he ever did. So once I realized that, that was absolutely it for him, right? And you basically look ahead to just answering every question that you possibly can, very quickly, very efficiently, telling him that once you realize this was the case, he didn't have no chance with you, and that was absolutely it for him, and it's done. Okay? And I want you to be thinking about answering all your questions like that in an efficient manner. You tell him what it was. You let him know that you don't tolerate certain things. You let him know that you're not someone to be messed with. You let him know you don't deal with BS, right? And you definitely don't forgive people very much. And then you're back to asking him questions about himself. Okay? Right? Anticipate that he's going to ask you questions so that you don't stumble and bumble when he starts asking you about you, thinking to yourself, but I'm not supposed to be talking about myself. We're supposed to be only talking about you. It will ruin everything you're trying to do, right? It will ruin everything you're trying to do by asking him questions and getting him interested in you, because then he'll be like, why don't you want to answer these questions? Why don't you want to speak about yourself? Why don't you want to share about yourself, right? You share just enough that he forgets the fact that you're interrogating him and he feels like it's a conversation. So you need to be anticipating those questions, right? Goddess says, no, they will test you and think if he cheated on her, there must be something wrong with her. No, I said this earlier. I don't think you were here, Goddess, but I said this earlier. Even if someone cheats on you, that's not a horrible thing, but you need to, in the same breath that you communicate to a guy that you've been cheated on, you communicate that as soon as you found that out, that guy was done. He was cooked. He never had an opportunity with you ever again, and he won't ever again in the future. Okay. So once he made the mistake, it only took the one mistake and he was done after that. That's what you want to be communicating to guys. Now, communicating to him that he cheated on me and then I stayed for 3 months and then he cheated again and then I stayed for another 2 weeks and then he cheated again and then he left me for the girl that he cheated with, that makes you look very weak. That makes you look like a pushover. That makes you look like someone that he starts thinking to himself, I should walk all over you, okay? You don't want to be communicating that. But you do want to be communicating that as soon as he messed up, you have, like Trini just said, you have zero tolerance for that, okay? It's actually good to demonstrate that you have zero tolerance by giving him an example of someone messing up and gone. You're done. Absolutely done, okay? That's good, actually. That presents you as a strong-willed person that doesn't mess around. Okay, that's good. So, number 1 was it was painting the picture. The horror stories, number 2. The vague desires, number 3. Anticipating, number 4. And number 5, I really, 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 really want you to at all times be thinking about how you redirect the conversation back to him. I know this a topic is about how to talk about yourself and get the guys chasing you. But the reality of it is, as much as you can talk about yourself, that doesn't mean that's how much you should talk about yourself. And all the time you spend talking about yourself only is less time spent that he can be talking to you about him. And I always tell you guys, the most interested someone will be and locked in on a conversation with you, someone will be, is when they get the opportunity to talk about themselves. So it's you need to come up with strategies on how to properly redirect conversation back onto him. Where, see, this is where anticipate and redirect kind of work hand in hand, because when you're anticipating the questions properly, right, that he's going to ask you some similar questions about the similar topics back to you, and you're answering those questions efficiently and quickly, getting to the point and throwing it back on him, right? Your skills and your understanding of how to redirect will help when you're anticipating. You answer the question quickly, efficiently, and then right after that, you could say, oh, so that reminds me of, I was just thinking, what about this situation that you might have went through, and da-da-da, can you tell me more about that? Right? And you make it feel a lot like a conversation because you just answered about you. But before he even got a chance to ask you a follow-up question, back to you. Okay? Every time, back to you. We need to hear more from you. Okay? And the thing about it is, you'll see, I know it sounds hard and very difficult. You'll get into the swing of this after a while. Okay, you'll get into the flow of being able to anticipate the questions someone will ask you, not trauma dumping, not telling him your life story, not making this all about you, because you're not here to talk all about you. You're only here to learn about him until you realize he's for you. Then you can talk all about you. Okay, now, and then redirecting it right back onto him so that you can continue learning more and more about him. This has to be subtle though. This has to be subtle. This can't be something that's super duper obvious. Mari says, we're not mothers to men. You're not, but you're also not here to trauma dump and share every single intimate part of yourself with random strangers. Because the reality of it is you're on dates with random strangers. Not every guy that you go out on a date with, you're going to end up being in a relationship with. So you ask these men questions about themselves so that you can gather information on these random strangers. Okay. Don't think, you can't put yourself in the mindset that I'm here to talk about myself because this is about me and I want to feel good. Because what will end up happening is you'll go into that date thinking about how you can trauma dump and share this and share that and share this and share that. He'll be the one with all the information. And you know what he's going to do with that information? He's going to hop himself right into your Squirtle, unbeknownst to you, right under your nose. Because you'll be easily manipulated when you give up all of that information to a random stranger. Okay, so you let him share all about himself by being interested in him, enchanting him, making him feel like you're so interested in this conversation. You want to hear more, you want to learn more. And then you continuously ask him questions and questions and questions where he's the one dumping and spilling and telling you everything about you, right? Mari says, I'm not sharing anything. That's fine. And that's the good thing to do. But you also have to have a course of action where he doesn't realize you're not sharing anything. Because you can't just go out on the date and stare at him. And then when he asks you a question, you'll be like, I'm not sharing anything. And he's like, so why are we here? I don't know. You talk. He's like, what? You talk, you share. Let me know about you. You'd be like, what? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like a conversation. It doesn't feel like it's flowing, right? You want to make him feel like you're interested so heavily in him that you want to know more about him. You find him fascinating. Okay. So as I talked about redirecting, right? I'll give you guys an example of redirecting. So let's say, for example, we're in a conversation and we're talking to each other about our past relationship, right? And the things that we've endured in our past relationship. And he's told you a little bit about his last ex and the things that transpired. And he told you how they met at work and how work kind of messed up their relationship. And then a whole big drama happened and things like that. And so he asked you about your last relationship. You answer, yeah, things didn't work out. My ex cheated and then he was done. He was absolutely done. And then you just, as soon as you say that, say, but I've always wondered, what is it actually like to work with your partner? Like, when you guys were in fights and arguments and disagreements, how did you guys like resolve that conflict when you still were not agreeing with each other, but then you had to go out on these, you had to work with each other and work alongside each other and things like that. You always want to be thinking about how you can take the question that was just asked. I know this is like advanced, how the question you were just asked can be redirected back onto him in a way that actually shows that you were listening to his answer and are more interested in hearing more about him and his life than you are about talking about yourself, okay? Right? You don't want that to be super obvious, but you want him to feel like you're fascinated by him. Okay. Apple user says, can you please do a review of the questions we should be asking? I've actually talked about that in a past live stream, the exact type of questions you should be asking a guy when you go out on a date with them. So I don't want to go too deep into that on this. If you want that access to that show, just go over to my YouTube, which is right on the top right of my head there. It's just my name. You type it in on YouTube and you can find that live stream. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Don't be oversharing with men. Okay. Don't be talking extensively about yourself. If you do, use the strategy that I just gave you, right? You talk about it efficiently. You talk about it quickly. You anticipate the type of messages. You anticipate the type of questions that he's going to ask you, right? You're vague about your desires, and then you redirect. As soon as you finish answering your question quickly and efficiently, you'll redirect the conversation and the focus right back onto him, okay? Jessica says, dang it, I'm a certified yapper. Worst thing you can do when you're meeting guys and growing these new relationships with guys, the worst thing you can do is to be a certified yapper. You never, ever want to be a yapper. The strategy of talking about yourself to keep guys chasing and interested in you is not by actually yapping. It's about talking less, but you share just enough that he feels like you're actually sharing something. That's the trick, okay? And I'm telling you this because I've actually used the strategy and it always works. It works 100% of the time. Sorry, my voice, right? It works 100% of the time. When you talk to someone, you get them engaged and you get them so engaged that when you start answering their questions, even though you're answering them, very quickly and not really telling them anything about anything, they're so enchanted by the fact that you're so interested in them that they just continue yapping, continue talking, continue spilling, right? And they don't realize how much they're spilling. You'll be shocked. Trust me, when you get good at this, it'll become like a superpower. I have people that I meet for the first time tell me all the time, I'm telling you stuff that I've never even told my best friend. I'm telling you stuff that I didn't even tell my ex. I'm telling you stuff that I didn't even tell my sister or my mother. You understand what I'm saying? People, you'll be shocked how well this works when you're able to do this the right way. Okay. And people won't even feel bad about spilling it to you because they'll feel like it's a conversation, not just you asking them questions. It's very strange, but it works. Okay. I didn't make the rules, but it works. And I'm telling you this from experience. Okay. Right. Jessica says, I think I yap a lot because I'm an only child. It could be possible. Right. Sammy says people always offer up random unsolicited info to me. And I eyes, they stop like with your eyes, like when you give them a particular look, they stop. Right. Toby says people love talking about themselves. 100%. I'm telling you, I'm telling you this, guys, because I'm giving you guys out this. People love talking about themselves. And if you can get people, even guys, don't be thinking that guys don't love talking about themselves. If you can get guys in the flow of talking about, even a shy guy, listen, I'm telling you this because I've used this strategy on people. Even shy, well, for me, it's obviously shy women, but even the shyest of shy women, I was able to get them out of their shell by using strategies like this, and then all of a sudden you be shocked the way they'll just start yapping. Okay, and you can do this the same way with the shy guys, and you'll be shocked how they'll just start yapping to you, and you're like, damn, yeah, I never even thought you were this much of a yapper. Okay, right? Ashley says, I don't think psychology teaches these kind of things. It definitely doesn't teach what a man's inner narrative is. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, what we talk about has to do with psychology, but in a lot of ways, psychology is not focused on how to extract particular responses from men in the dating world, right? And most of the time, a psychologist is going to be more focused on the essays and the books and the theses than they are on the actual application of how you can use this to get a particular result in the dating world. So that's kind of the problem, right? I'm not a psychologist, but I can kind of apply some of the same thought processes and ideas and concepts to like what we're actually doing in our real lives. You understand what I'm saying? A thesis on the psychology of wants and needs and Maslow's hierarchy of needs is not really going to do you any good in the dating world. But if we can apply some of these concepts on how people think and react and respond to things to the dating world, then you can actually utilize that information to get what you want out of guys. So it's kind of like a merging of those worlds. Okay. Right. It's Ty J says, so we ask questions and spin it back to them after we answer a question and relate it back to them. Yes, you got the right idea. You getting it, right? That's kind of the gist here. But then you also, the other tips were like the vague desires and then also the horror stories because you're trying to paint, all of this is helping you paint an entire picture. Okay. Right. Does that make sense? Okay. So with that being said, it's time. Please, members of the Players Club, inform all the new and people who are here that are unsure of what time it is at this point in time. Please inform them very clearly what time it indeed is at this point. Because the new people and the new members, if they're members yet, they might not be members yet, they might still be on the outskirts. They're not aware of what time it is yet. They're probably thinking, what time is it? And they're looking at their watch. That's not the type of time I'm talking about. If you're new here, you're probably confused. That's okay, because the chat is going to tell you. Okay. Let's do this thing. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Discord time, where's my Discord here? Discord time is where members of the Players Club get to hop into my Discord, our Discord really, and ask questions to me of their own relationship issues and situations, and I answer their questions live on the show. So if you want to submit your question to the Players Club Discord, please go over, if you're on TikTok, go to the link in my bio, and it's right there in the link in my bio. Or if you are on YouTube, just go on the pinned comment or the link in the description if you're watching this afterwards, okay? So I'm scrolling down because they're queued based on the date that they were posted. So let's start off with, let's make sure we're on the right thing here. Make sure we didn't skip any people. We're going to start off here with J Cakes. Okay, so this is J Cakes' question is he worthy of my time? Okay, thank you so much, Sammy, for the donation. I really appreciate that. It's an email message. Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sammy's like the #1 TikTok gifter. She's above and beyond. Okay, J Cake says, me, 23-year-old woman with a 23-year-old man, friends for 5 months to dating for 3.5 weeks. Okay. The guy was my friend of the last 4 months who has a very avoidant attachment style, and I am securely attached. As friends, we would see each other often and have had great chemistry from day one. We used to have a lot of chats about our standards for dating, and I actually told him there was a couple of things he did that I saw red flags in and was a no-go for me. He was proactive to these and changed them, and would always apologize and make it up to me if we fought. Sounds like a good guy so far. He used to tell me often how much he likes me and will do cute things. He is also very protective. He decided that he wanted to go out on a date a couple of weeks ago, and I agreed because of the changes I had seen him making. And so we have been seeing each other, not serious. This is already not good when you say things like that. Not serious. That's limbo. But we went on 5 proper dates that he organized and paid for and hung out in between, but we never kissed or did the deed because he didn't want to rush it, because he was scared he would hurt me or f up our friendship, and he wanted to just grow it and let it happen naturally. We rarely fight, but do bicker, but always agree to disagree. Our relationship was progressing slowly every time we saw each other. In that sort of way, we had been more touchy recently. I saw him on Friday and he opened up to me about feeling lonely his whole life, which was a big deal. Excuse me. I also asked him on Friday if it was going to be like this as I was slowly getting bored at almost nothing physical. Oh, wow. Okay. And he happened to told me, no, it's not always going to be like this. Saturday, we had tense conversation over the phone, which I was accidentally rude to him because of he was frustrating me. We did not speak for 4 days, which I was worried about because sometimes people just need space. I texted him on the 4th day to tell him it was okay if he wanted some space and I would be here for him when he was ready, because this was a long time, in my opinion, to take space. I mean, 4 days. He responded with confusion, asking what space. He said everything was okay and told me he actually wanted to apologize and see me. We were supposed to meet and canceled last minute. Sorry, he canceled last minute. So I asked him to call so that I could break off the dating side and tell him another guy asked me out as respect to our friendship before I went ahead. He told me he had been sleeping with the girl since the night of our fight. Wow. See why I say it's not good to be in limbo? Now nobody knows what the expectations are. They met on Instagram and had got coffee twice while we were apparently dating. Well, see, that's the thing. You just mentioned it as being serious, not serious. So you went on 5 dates, but there was kind of a confusion of what the 5 dates were really meaning. It's part of the reason why I always tell you guys and girls can never truly be friends. From the aspect of one person or another feels feelings towards the other person. And in this case, it's both of you that feel feelings towards each other. But you see how, like, you can't really ever go, even after this, you can't go back to a friendship. You're still hurt, even though you just acknowledged that it wasn't that serious what you were doing before. Let's go on. I know this is trash, but I can't help but blame myself because he is an avoidant and I feel like I pushed him to this. Not really. He spoke to me on the phone for 3 hours that night, trying to calm me down and explaining he was trying to hurt me. And we met the next day to discuss again. See, this is where I start to question, what are you doing here? Because you like the guy, but the guy has just acknowledged to you that he's exploring other people, but you're not detaching yourself from the guy. So you're making this more painful for yourself. I know I should never speak to him again, but I really don't want to lose him as a friend. See, this is the problem, like I just said. See, when everything starts to fall under the umbrella of friendship, now you're putting yourself in this horrible spiral mess of a situation where you're attached and friends with the guy who's dating and sleeping with and seeing other people, but you are upset by that, but you can't speak up for yourself because you're just friends, but the friendship doesn't feel very friendly when you guys are talking about, and being very close with each other, and it's just very confusing. And you're not going to be able to build new relationships when you're in this state. But I just don't know if it's worth it, because this is causing me a lot. What the heck? This is causing me a lot of anxiety and hurt. Context: I'm also living abroad in a country I don't speak the language, and he is my closest friend here. So even worse. You feel like if you aren't friends with him, then you'll have nobody, literally. Even before we dated, and my safe person, so he was my safe person, I think he meant to say. So losing him is really going to suck. And I'm sorry, this is long. Update: I drew the friendship line with him, and maybe I am wrong in asking this, but I told him we can't be friends if he keeps seeing the same girl, because it will also make me feel like I'm not being valued. Oh, this is horrible. JK, you should have never done this. And this, okay. This is part of the problem. You're confusing yourself and him. Everyone's confused. You're also putting yourself in a, what are you doing? You just told the guy that you agreed to be friends with, and told that it's nothing more than a friendship. You told him who he can and can't date because of how it offends you or makes you feel not valued. No, what you actually are, be honest with yourself and him, is you're jealous because you like the guy and you wish you were her. Nothing wrong with that. It's not a crime, but let's say, call it for what it is. And what you're doing to yourself is you're sticking by a friendship with a guy that you have feelings for this guy, and you're trying to force him to make you feel comfortable with the fact that you have feelings for him, but he's exploring other relationships. And so you're trying to make yourself feel more comfortable by getting rid of the other girls who could possibly come into his life. The reality of it is, even if it wasn't this girl specifically, even if it was a new girl, you're always going to have a problem with the new girl that he's talking to, because it's always going to feel like you're being replaced, because it's always going to feel like you're jealous of her, or you want to be her, right? Or you just don't like the fact that he's paying his attention to another girl. You're always going to feel like that. So it's not just going to be this girl. It's going to be every new girl from now on. So again, my question is, what's the purpose of anything you're doing here? Because you're not in a relationship. You're in a friendship with the guy you want to be in a relationship with, but that man clearly doesn't want to be in a relationship with you. So why waste your time here? Because he speaks your language. I understand he's one of the few people that speaks your language in that country, but are you trying to tell me he's the only person that speaks your language in that part of the country? That there's no one else you can find or come across that speaks that same language? Okay? Right? And that's the reason you'll put yourself through this pain? I don't think that that's worth it. Okay? You feel like you're not being valued, and if you had to meet her further down the road, it will consistently just make me remember his actions and how it made me feel, which I do not want to deal with, nor invest my time somewhere where I could get hurt again. I mean, you're already kind of doing that. He apologized many times again and said that he would stop seeing her. He doesn't owe you this. So he might just say that to make you to put you at peace, but he honestly doesn't owe you this whatsoever. He's your friend, not your boyfriend. You don't get to control who he sees and who he doesn't see. I'm just going to be real with you. But to give him 2 weeks to work on it so he doesn't just ghost her because he says she doesn't deserve it because she hasn't done anything wrong to him. He shouldn't even have to ghost her. That's not part of the friendship. We had this chat 2 days ago, and now he is actively putting in effort to check in and speak to me again. However, today we did speak, and he asked me how my day was, as I didn't get to reply until later because I was busy at uni all day, so we barely had a conversation. Tonight he was, I think he meant to say with her, and decided it would be a good idea to post on his Instagram about him and her getting drinks with the captions relaxing with the I guess those were the captions, with the song by my favorite band in the background. Okay, let's go on. I won't say anything. I'm not sure if this is just a stupidity on his part or if he's testing me, but that upset me because why do you need to post a story of the girl with you that you are going to leave in less than 2 weeks? Okay. Okay. I'm going to give you a dose of reality, J Cakes. Let's finish your question, then I'll give you a dose of reality. Please help. I'm really struggling to figure out if I'm just continuously being played or if he does actually care or if he's just an avoidant attacher. And even if this is the case, if I should be putting myself through this or not. Okay. Thank you for your question, J Cakes. I have to give you a dose of reality because without it, you will be lost. If this guy likes this girl, he's not leaving this girl because of your friendship. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Okay. And like, I'm going to try not to be mean to you when I say this, but if he is actively exploring a romantic relationship with this girl and he's not exploring a romantic relationship with you, I don't care what he says about your friendship or how much it means to him. It doesn't mean as much to him as building this romantic relationship with this girl that he finds interesting. And the reality of it is he finds this girl more interesting than he finds you, which is why you're not the one getting posted, which is why you're not the one on his story, which is why you're not the one that he's going out with. The reality of it is he's posting a story with a girl he's going to leave in 2 weeks because he's not going to leave her in 2 weeks. Okay. He just told you that to put your mind at ease so you'd stop yapping and stop complaining and he'd stop having to hear your mouth. And reality, he's not going to do that. He'll probably come back in the next 2 weeks and give you some silly excuse about why he hasn't done it or why she doesn't deserve it, right? And you're just going to be okay with it because you like the guy. So what are you going to do? Threaten that you won't be friends with him? You won't do that. You don't have the guts to. Okay? You didn't even have the guts to end the relationship the first time. So you're definitely not going to end it now. So what I'm trying to explain to you, J Cakes, without being mean to you, but I need to give you a dose of reality, is you're wasting your own time. He has made it clear to you that not only does he not find you that particularly fascinating, that he really wants to build a serious relationship with you. I mean, if he did, he would have been doing that. He's also explained to you through his actions that he actually finds another girl in his life currently even more fascinating and interesting than you. Once you realize that, you've been trying to desperately hang on to your spot or your place in his life and his mind. You can keep desperately trying and attempting to hold on to your spot. The reality of it is, as this relationship continues to grow with this new girl, so will his feelings for her. And I can 100,000% guarantee you that when they become seriously romantic and she tells him, I don't want you spending time with this girl anymore because I know she has feelings for you, I can 100% assure you, you will never, ever, 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 ever hear again from that man, ever. He won't text you. He won't call you. He won't check up on you. He won't even answer a text or a call or a message or a DM or a reel or a TikTok video that you send him. Nothing. Because his priority will be the woman that he's in a romantic relationship with and not you, his friend. You're allowing yourself to live in limbo. And the honest truth is, whether it's this girl or a new girl, it's only going to end up in him being with his actual girlfriend. And then his actual girlfriend telling him, stop talking to this girl who is obsessed with you and wants to be in a relationship with you, because that makes me feel uncomfortable and I'm your girlfriend. And then you'll get discarded of and you'll be wondering why you wasted a whole bunch of your time on a guy who was dating other girls. It's part of the reason why I tell you guys there's no point trying to build friendships with guys when one way or another, one person is liking the other. So whether it be you liking the guy or him liking you, that's the reason that the friendship exists. So right now you're more like an ego boost and just like a comfortable thing to fall back on for him, but he's not really ready to be romantic for you. So the choice is really yours. Either waste the rest of your time until he gets his girlfriend for real and then his girlfriend tells you to stop talking to you, tells him to stop talking to you, or keep wasting your time, keep stringing yourself along, and then eventually you'll realize that he doesn't want to talk to you when he just blocks you and removes you off everything. Okay, one of the two. Next we have here, let's see. Layla says, have I analyzed this properly? Okay. Layla says, hey, I'm posting this again because you couldn't read my screenshot. My apologies if it's too long. Okay. My 20-year-old, I'm a 20-year-old named Layla. At the start of January this year, when I was 19, okay, I met a guy named Mo who's 24. For context, we're both Middle Eastern, but brought up with British culture. I believe he had a good head on. I believe I have a good head on my shoulders and have analyzed this situation well. However, part of me worries I'm deluding myself and would like to know if you agree with my perspective or have a different opinion. Okay. I met Mo naturally at the beach club in my city. The clubbing scene doesn't excite me, but it was my friend's birthday, so I joined them after dinner. It was my first proper clubbing experience in my city, so I ended up having a good time. Suddenly, I locked eyes with Mo. But without a word, I felt a wave of familiarity. Okay, was that in your squirrel or in your mind? Almost as if we both knew we would speak the same language. I'm confident and I know I'm attractive. I've never struggled to get men's attention. Without sounding cocky, I'm not fussed by attention from men. So you've got that dump truck, that dumpy going on for you. I'm really used to it, but that night, the second I looked in his eyes, it felt different. What, this is love at first sight? Okay. We exchanged glances and kept eye contact that felt like a conversation. Okay. There was an unspoken connection. It was ridiculous. He made his way to me and after a hello exchange, put his hand on my hip to whisper in my ear because the music was loud. While I'm open and friendly, I have my boundaries. So I shut that touch down politely. We talked for a few minutes before I returned to my friends and forgot about him. What happened to it being so magical? When you locked eyes, you just forgot about him in a few minutes? What? At the end of the night, as we were leaving the club, I saw Mo and his friend talking to one of my friends. We joined them, forming a small circle. The more time I spent near him, even briefly, the more I felt I knew exactly what type of person he was. Okay, here we go. This is where the delusion. Chat, get ready. This is where the delusion is going to start setting in. The rest of this is going to become very delusional because what did you just say here? You spent time near him, briefly. You felt you knew exactly what type of person he was. How would you know that? By spending some brief time near him. You didn't even say spending some brief time talking to him. You said spending brief time near him in his area. Delusion has set in for you. I know that your squirrel's probably throbbing at this point and it's late at night. You probably got some alcohol in you as well, but delusion has set in. For sure, delusion has set in. I've known you before. I felt as silly as that sounds. So that's what you felt when you saw him, that you felt like you've known him before. Great. That's great. That's great. This is going downhill very fast. I know he felt it too. He talked to everyone in the circle but me. So you guys feel like you've known each other for so long, but you're not even actually saying real words to each other. That's awesome. That's not delusional at all. No, not even a little bit. It's not happening in your imagination. I knew what he was doing, canceling me out to get my attention. But I don't speak unless I'm spoken to. He would ask someone a question, and while they answered, he would look at me. Okay, I won't say that's nothing, but once again, let's go on. You can imagine the tension in that circle. I think there's a lot of tension going on in your pants, but I don't know if there's a lot in real life. Yes, let's go on. Fast forward through the small talk, most of my friends left. I stayed interested in Mo. My acquaintance offered me a ride home, but when I realized her ride was someone who had previously essayed me, I declined. Wow, that I didn't expect. That came out of nowhere. Mo lived closer to me than the club. Oh God. I hope this is not going where I think it's going because you haven't even said words to him. So his friend and I shared a taxi. Okay, shared a taxi. I thought you were gonna say he drove me home. I was like, that's a stranger. I stayed at their I stayed at their place for about, how did you end up at their place? For about 15 minutes before getting my Uber home. We had a great conversation, talked about politics with a good balance of banter. We, in fact, did speak the same language and bounced off each other the whole 15 minutes. The next day, I realized I left something at his place. Chat. The next day you realized you left something at his place, or you left something at his place on purpose. I'm not accusing you of anything, but quite a coincidence. I'm just saying. Okay? So I messaged him. This led to small talk. Of course it did. For context, where I live is a huge influencer destination, and most people who live there are in their 20s. Do you live in Miami? Do you live in Miami? That's what it sounds like. In their 20s are either extremely shallow, so either LA or Miami, or are here to make money in shameless ways. Miami, LA, Dubai, maybe. He had only been there for 2 years. I've lived here for 20, and I could smell his interest in me off him. Humbly, I'm a respectable girl with morals that align with his. I live with my family. I'm goal oriented and I have a good head on my shoulders. Okay. I've lived here my whole life, and unless you went to school here, it's really hard to find a good group. Socializing is mainly out in the clubbing scene, and you really only find the girls I've mentioned above. This is probably Miami or LA. That's what it really sounds like to be honest, because you said beach too, beach club. During our small talk, he tried cheesy flirting, and when I didn't play along, so now you're at his place, getting your stuff back. I didn't play along. He seemed put off. I genuinely cringe at bimbo flirting. Okay, I just kind of play along. While I shut the cringe flirting down in a playful but sexy way, he was now passive, almost angry. I felt extremely dramatic, so I left his message on read. This was happening over message, not in person, for about 16 hours before realizing I needed my item back. Interesting. When I messaged him again, I was left on read. You should have got your item back first, and then, why would you do that way? Realizing he didn't like the fact I left him on read, so he did the same. Gaining control. After a week, I messaged him about getting my item back. I'm not gonna lie, for someone who just talked about how smart you were, how much of a good head you had on shoulders, you went about this kind of dumb. Because if you need an item back, you actually need it back, you don't try to pee someone off before you get your item back. Go get your item back and then have the conversation after. Because especially someone you don't know, you don't want to risk them not speaking to you, then you don't get your item back. Anyways, that's a side point. After a week, I messaged him about getting my item back. He responded and basically saved himself, pretending he didn't realize he left me on read. Again, small talk. You should have just went to go get your item back right away. But led nowhere. I couldn't stop thinking about him. It felt like we were in sync. What are you talking about? I don't know. What? What? So at this point, you've only seen the guy at the beach club the one time, and you've only had a 15-minute conversation with him after the taxi ride home, and you're talking about you feel like you're so in sync. What sync? What is in sync there? Your text messages? Those aren't even in sync. He relieves you on read, you leave him on read. What? Almost telepathy. What are you talking about? I don't chat. Am I missing something here? Because what do you no cap, Layla, what are you actually talking about? What telepathy are you referring to? Unless you've not told me about a whole portion of this conversation. I feel it's really difficult to express this situation through a monotone message. However, please try, because I'm trying to understand what type of text messaging you could be doing that would make you feel like you're in sync and have telepathy. You actually spoke to him for 15 minutes. The rest of the time, you were just looking at each other, and your Squirtle was overflowing. That doesn't mean you have telepathy or you're in sync. Just means you're H'd up. Okay. However, I hope you trust my judgment. I'm kind of not trusting your judgment. Up until now, it may sound like I was very cold and showed no interest. It was the opposite. He could just tell I had boundaries. Nothing wrong with that. He may not have been used to it, but I also knew he liked that. A week or two later, I decided to message him. So this is now, we're going on, what, this is like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks now? Something I never do, and invited him to a wine night with my friend. When are you going to get your item back? Or was never that important? He immediately responded and brought his friend along. So this is a double date. Let me rephrase that. For him, this actually kind of sounds like a two-man. Let's continue. The tension was so strong, my friend and his could taste it. Sounds a lot more like a two-man. We had a great time talking about politics, music, and travel. Eventually, his friend left and Mo wanted to stay. So it's you, your friend, and Mo. Let's see where this goes. Mo and I fell asleep on the couch, fully clothed. I was a pencil straight next to him, with only my head on his shoulder. I felt like a little girl. I was nervous to even put my arm around him. We continued talking for a few days until suddenly he left me. I'm not laughing at you, Layla. It's a funny situation. Until suddenly he left me on red. I felt like he was testing me. Of course, I did not message again. 10 days later, when I posted a story, he realized I was in his area and he sent me a funny text asking why. Oh, Layla, so young, so many things to learn. We messaged a bit and he invited me over. So young, so many things to learn. It turned into another group wine night, but my friend canceled last minute, so it was just me and his friend. We had such a great time, and I stayed over since I was really late once again. Fully clothed, pencil straight, this time I had the guts to put my arm on his chest slightly. The next day he invited me over again, but fell asleep and didn't respond until 2 hours later. He messaged me at 10 a.m. asking me to come around for 11. He asked you, for 11 a.m. It felt then that he did have the day off and he wanted to spend the whole day with me and not just the night. Okay. When I told him I would come after the gym, he agreed, not getting a confirmation on me leaving. For 2 hours. I declined, feeling disrespected. Fair. I didn't want to seem always available. Yes, you shouldn't. Things felt differently after that. He would message me asking me to come over, and since he messed up the chance of this being more casual, I switched up and would show him that without a date, I won't come over. Okay. Saying I'm not in the mood to stay today. We can go out though. If not, have a good day. He realized what happened and pretended that he did have a date plan, but has an injury. Yeah, anyways, then I got a call from his work phone, which I didn't have saved. And he asked if I could come over again around 1 p.m. and I declined politely. At least you're smart enough to see what's going on. I felt I wasn't giving him enough, so I messaged him something lighthearted. Why would you do that? Something that linked to an old convo, an inside joke, but he didn't respond. I realized he wanted control when his game didn't work and he wanted to play mine, so I never responded. Gutted, I moved on. 2 months later, I posted a story at a restaurant near his place. He unfollowed me and removed me as a follower the same day I posted it. That's pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. That should tell you all you need to know. Okay, he was not really that interested in you in the first place. Okay, I think he was just seeing if he could convince you to sleep with him in this process. I knew what happened. Salty that I was 30 steps away from him and didn't bother to text him. He acted out of ego and removed me. That's what you took from that? Okay. 2 days after that, I see him watching my stories as I am public. he wanted a reaction. Telling me to text him without saying it. Okay. Of course I didn't. He's a big boy. Again, 2 days later, he continued to watch my stories. I didn't give him the reaction he wanted. Why did you unfollow me? Blah, blah, blah. My analysis is that he liked me and felt the same way, but he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted a girl like me without putting in effort. When he realized it would take effort to keep my attention, he didn't care to try. I know I was someone he liked, but I feel his ego wasn't stroked, so he got up and left. Wow, Katie, um, how do I say this? You, I don't think that you meant as much to him as you think that you meant to him. To be honest with you, I don't think that he showed, based on what you said, I don't think that he showed anything that really was anything more than like, hey, let's hang out. And for him seeing where things go, if you guys were to hang out, you slept over. I think I honestly, if you're gonna ask me, I think what happened is after a couple times of you sleeping over and nothing happening, he kind of realized that like you're not really gonna be doing anything with him, and so he kind of lost interest in pursuing you because his pursuit was mainly focused on being able to sleep with you. And then when he realized that his pursuit was not going to allow him to sleep with you, he was like, well, this is kind of a pointless pursuit, and then that's why he kind of pulled back there. So I don't want to say you're completely delusional, but I do think that I think how important you think you were to him was not as important as you actually were to him. I think that you were less of a big deal to him. And I think he was more interested in what he could extract from you than he was really in building some sort of long-term relationship with you. Because like you mentioned earlier, I can't find it here, but as you mentioned earlier, when it came to like taking you out on a date or like actually planning something, he always had something going on. It was like right around this area, right? He had an injury, right? Even instead of having the date plan. So quite convenient, right? And to be honest with you, whenever a guy does that type of stuff, it's because he's not actually trying to put in real effort. I think you said that at the end. He's just trying to put in fake effort to sleep with you. And so that's kind of it there. So honestly, to answer your question, I don't think you meant as much to him as you think that you did. But I think the rest of your analysis in terms of him getting bored was correct. Okay, next we have here, let's see. A says, advice, please. Let me make sure I did the right. June 27th. Okay, so this should be the right thing. Advice, please. I'm going crazy. One of two. Hi, Thompson. I'm 25. He is 25 as well. Currently single. Been just talking to him for about 2 months now. We met on a dating app and we clicked with each other. I like that he was easy to talk to. It's just something you don't get with every guy, speaking from my perspective. We started to talk on the phone. After 1 week of talking, he started to get pineapple-y on the phone. I told him I don't do that stuff, and then he said, okay. Then he said, okay, and that was that. Even though I would stop replying to him, he would always text me, and I liked that he kept being consistent with me. I made it clear I'm looking for someone that is serious and wants a relationship. When I asked him what he's looking for, he just said he wants someone to have a connection with and told me that he feels a connection with me, a connection in his pants. A few days later, at that point, it was 3 weeks of talking. I asked why we haven't gone on a date, because he's a pen pal to you. That's why. Or why we haven't seen each other in person, because he's a pen pal. That's why. He said, oh, I'm sorry for lagging. I'm just focused on work and personal stuff, like a pen pal would say. I said, yeah, but we make time for what we want, no matter what. So if you don't want a relationship in the future, we should stop wasting each other's time. Why would you say that to him? Do you think that that's going to inspire him to do the thing? It's not. Okay. You saying that doesn't do anything. Okay. So you're better off not saying that. He then apologized, but I noticed that he never said that he will make up for it or anything. Exactly why I told you it's pointless. Guys, he's not going to do what you say that he should do because you think that that's what he should be doing. And he still hasn't to this day. P.S. I never had pineapples with this guy since we obviously still haven't met in person. Thank God. So Thompson, I ran into your page and I started no contact. Been about 2 weeks of no contact now because I know that I deserve a man that is serious about me, and that 2 months have gone by and I feel like it's obvious this guy isn't serious. I just know we had a connection. What connection would you know that you guys, I really don't like when you guys do this. What connection could you possibly have when you haven't met him in person? Stop fooling yourselves, right? Stop fooling yourselves with this over the phone yap chatter, thinking you're building a real connection with, you don't know this guy. You've never even met him in person. And I know the guy feels it too. How would you know? How would you know? You don't even know him. And my intuition, what is your intuition telling you through text? Tells me that maybe he's interested, but doesn't know what he wants or isn't ready for a relationship. So either one of those answers to that, right, should tell you that this isn't a guy you should even be spending your time investing in. My question is, should I break no contact? Not a chance. I don't want to break no contact to beg for his attention. If we're to break it, I would say this. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not even going to read this. Don't say any of this. Don't say any of this. Don't say any of this. I just feel like I ghosted him with the no contact thing. And maybe now, because of that, he thinks I'm not interested in any advice would be much appreciated. Please don't say any of this. Don't say anything. Don't contact him. Don't text him. Don't call him. Don't watch his stories. Don't open his Snapchats. Nothing. You need to get a grip. You don't know this man, okay? And you can't have a connection with someone you've never met in person, okay? The only connection you have is to your Wi-Fi. That's the only connection you're seeing right now. Not a connection with him, the human being. So that being said, if that man can't have enough initiative to take you out on a date or ask you out on a date or schedule a date with you, trust you me, he's actually not that interested in you. Everything that's happening in this relationship is going on in your mind. You think he's interested in you, but he's not that interested in you. Because if he was, he would ask you out on a date, okay? Especially after you brought it up and he still did nothing about it. He was only looking to be your pen pal, okay? I'm just going to be super real with you. So there's truthfully nothing to do in this scenario because there's no reason whatsoever you should be reaching out to a guy who has clearly shown you he doesn't even care enough to go out or ask you out on a date and plan one with you. So don't send that message. Don't send any message. In fact, ignore him. Okay. Next we have here. Let's see. I want to make sure we did this the right order. Okay, Neldy. A V Verge with experience at 25. Okay, interesting. Neldy says, "Thank you, Tomisin. Your show has made me realize all the things hidden from me in my past relationships." You're welcome. I'm 25 and I mainly have some questions for you. So I did not have a lot of relationships, but I had two. What? I thought you said two crazy errors in my life. Okay. The thing is that none of the men in my life has ever had pineapples from me in the sense of like penetration, but I tried all the other stuff. There was one time where this guy kind of had pineapples with me in a tad sense, and I thought that there goes my cherry, but I didn't feel any pain, and then a specialist said that I'm still a virgin. I mean, well, okay, if you want to get technical, you don't necessarily have to bleed in order for you to lose your V card, but okay. So my question is for you, how should I go about it when it comes to time to talk about my past? Talk with a guy about my past. Okay, interesting. P.S. Because from one perspective, I have a relatively big body. Wait, what? From one perspective, I have a relatively big body count, but technically I'm still a virgin. About first one I am not proud of, but the second one seems weird considering that I'm turning 26 soon. Also, I know that your show is mainly for women in their feminine trying to find a man in their masculine. I carry myself very feminine, but my masculine is pretty strong in me too. I seem to go about it in a more feminine way though. Hope you'll understand. For all my life, I chose more feminine men. Yeah. Can it be that a man in his masculine would consider a girl like me if he were 70% male, 30% female. What? Or sorry, 70% masculine, 30% feminine, for example, and our percentages mash up. Okay. P.S. I have seen something like this with Kate and Anthony in Bridgerton season. Sorry, it's just funny because I know some girls that watch that. In Bridgerton season 2 and other shows. So is there an archetype like this? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Neldy, for your question. So I think if you're building a relationship with someone, I always think that you should be honest with them about, your past to a certain extent. I don't think it's necessary to spill your guts with people that you meet for the very first time. But I don't think that being a virgin is anything to be embarrassed about. But if you're building a relationship with someone, you do want to make it clear that despite you being a virgin, that, you have done some other stuff. Now, like I said, that doesn't necessarily mean that has to be the first thing out of your mouth when you start dating someone. But I don't think that this should be something you're actively trying to hide from someone you're actually serious with. Does that make sense? And I don't think there's anything wrong with either of those things, because guys are willing to date and wife women who are not virgins that are 25. So you being a virgin, but then just having done some other stuff is not a crime. Okay. So you have a little bit of irrational fear there. I don't think it's as big of a deal as you are imagining it being. As it relates to the situation where you're unsure, you can communicate that. If you want to say that happened, you want to put that amount of detail into it because you think that that's important, then you can do that and you can add that. But I also don't think that whole situation is necessarily something you have to jump out the window and say at the very beginning. But I do think if you're building the relationship over time, it should be something that you help your partner gain a little bit of clarity on. And I don't think it should be that big of a deal. You understand what I'm saying? So honestly, as weird as it sounds, my honest advice to you would just be honest. I don't think that there's any need to hide things or to lie about things or not tell people things. I don't think anything you've done is bad. Now, I don't think that you have to go out on every date and say it right away. But I do think that rather than hiding it, it's better to just be open and honest about it. I don't think that hiding it ever ends up in a good place for you. Okay. Yeah. And the other stuff that you've done, you can just be honest about that. You have some experience despite being a virgin. It's not a crime. Okay. And if the guy can't accept that or he has some sort of issue with that, then that wasn't the guy for you anyways, because you're you can't undo you. You understand what I'm saying? You gotta allow people to accept you for you. The other part of your question, attracting a more feminine man, if that's what you enjoy, that's perfectly fine. Whenever people say this though, I always want to caution you and warn you that, that comes with some things, right? So if you want a more feminine man, that's fine. But then make sure that you're ready to be the one asking him out on dates. You're the one ready to give him princess treatment. You're the one ready to do things for him and make sure he's good and take care of him emotionally and all that good stuff. Everything that a man would be doing for you, make sure you're prepared to do that for him if you like to be with the feminine men, okay? I don't judge anyone for how they want to live their lives, but just be prepared for that, because I know some people be like, I like the more feminine men, but then when I say, oh, well, okay, so then are you prepared to give princess treatment to your man? They're like, wait, what? I should be the one getting taken care of. I should be the one getting princess treatment. I should be the one getting, and I'm like, wait, but that's what you want to be, the masculine energy. So be the masculine energy, right? So you won't, if you find it difficult to the idea of you being the one consoling your man and you not having a lot of space to cry and share your emotions and be emotional, if that sounds unenticing to you, then you probably want to reconsider the type of men that you're choosing to be in relationships with. If that's perfectly fine with you, hey, be my guest and go ahead and live your life. Find those men and you'll be with those men and both of you will be happy. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, next we have here, let's see. We'll get through a few more of these. Let's see. We have BF didn't gift me for my B-Day. Okay, let's see what you got to say here. So Queen S says, hi, Q, question on how to react. My boyfriend didn't send a birthday gift. Background: I live abroad where we started dating. He's wealthy / known. I'm quite known too. We started working together before dating. I had to leave the country after an incident he caused, so I'm temporarily living back home. I'll return next January. He supports me financially, less than I want, and has been coming has been coming to see me every 6 weeks. Sorry, I got a dirty mind. Daily contact. We still do projects together. I do as little as possible. My B-day just passed. I prepared him a week ahead, saying my B-day is coming and would love to spend it with him. He made it seem like he would fly me out / come to me, but he didn't. But he would get back to me. He strung me along a few days, I guess, so I wouldn't make plans, and then said that he would let me know when he's coming next. Not apologizing he couldn't make it for my B-day. Okay. I went abroad with his friends, not telling him. Wait, what? Oh, sorry. I went abroad with friends, not telling him. I misread that. He saw it when the social media posted me. The media post. Do you mean social media or the media? I guess you said you're known, so maybe you meant media. The day before my B-day, he called me to wish me in advance and said he wanted to send flowers, but I'm not in my country. I said you can send them later. Next day he called at 12 a.m. The first to wish me. I expected him to deliver a gift. He's familiar where I spend my B-day, send me shopping money, something, but nothing. I went silent for a few days and told someone close to him that I'm upset. The person hinted this to him, and he called. I didn't pick up. He texted, I forgot about him since my B-day. I saw the gaslighting and didn't reply till 24 hours later, saying I was enjoying my celebrations. He then called asking if I found another man because I forgot about him, not texting back, not picking up his calls. I brushed it off, saying I was sleeping. He asked about my trip. I said I returned and had so much fun. He said he was tired and said, let's talk, and cut the call short. I won't reach out. He knows he's wrong, but ignores it. Do I keep ignoring or do I pick up his calls, act cold, and when he asks what's wrong, I confront him? Update below. Okay, let's see. After being silent for 4 days, he called me expressing his love and concern, asking if I'm seeing someone else and he feels something is wrong and pulling me away from him. He loves me so much. He asked why I've been distant and said I feel like he doesn't care. He asked if it's because he didn't come see me for my birthday and said I understand he couldn't make it as a successful businessman, but I'm disappointed in how he handled things. He could have done so many things to make up for the fact that he wasn't present, and he of course shifted the blame to me and that I didn't tell him about my trip. I didn't give him details on who I was with and where. He said he called to send flowers, but said that I'm not home, and he expected me to say send them here. He explained this was his way to get info from me to plan, but I said it wasn't an excuse, and result was he didn't do anything. He ended up apologizing and saying he would celebrate with me when he comes to see me. No date concluded. I still didn't give him much of a confirmation or reassurance. When he said he loves me, and I appreciate you saying that. When he said he loves me, when he said he loves me, I said I appreciate you saying that. That's cold. It was driving me crazy. I told him I'd be waiting for him to make it up to me. You shouldn't have said that. He asked for me to call him this evening because he misses talking to me. I didn't call, but the next day I briefly checked on him during work, keeping it short. He said, call me this evening, let's catch up, but didn't. He ended up calling me. I told him he can send my gift to my address, how he now instructed someone from his team I'm close to. This was secret info, but the person told me to arrange flowers and gifts, designer shoes, perfumes, chocolates to be sent to me, and he's coming to see me this weekend. Okay, so I guess your problem's been solved. I guess. So I guess there's nothing to answer. Yeah, you're. I guess in the span of us talking, your problem got solved. I mean, you're living the good life. He fixed it. He apologized and he changed it. So I guess that ended up just being a flex. See, sometimes I tell you guys, when you guys do nothing, a lot of times guys will fix themselves, and you really don't have to do much because guys are not dumb. They know how they treated you. Okay. XOXO says, can I take a step back from someone I kind of made it easy for to get them to chase me? Okay. XO says, can I take so okay, what do you mean though? From someone I kind of made it easy for them to chase. See, this is why it's so important to ask detailed questions, because XO, I can't really understand exactly what your situation is because it's so vague, right? I need specifics of your situation so I can answer it honestly. So resend your question with details, okay? Try and keep it under the character count though. Was I just a sugar mama / a placeholder? Oh, I think I might be skipping some. It's okay. Anonymous says, one half, I'm 42 with a 27-year-old man. You're 42, he's 27. My now ex-boyfriend and I have been together 2 years, off and on for 5 years. Okay, I met him when I was a stripper. Okay. I work in the med field now. Whoa, you went from stripper to med field? We were living together for 5 years, but I've kicked him out in the past for catching him talking to other girls online. He would leave me for a month or two, then come back to begging with me again because I love him so much, and would take him back stupidly without him putting in effort. This was before I started watching Tomisin's vids. There was a lot to this, but I'll try to get to the point. So he recently moved out of town to get a better job to help our financial situation. Why didn't he just become a stripper? I stupidly paid for things in the beginning, first year we were together. Then recently he went to live with his parents. Everything was going good at first. We missed each other. We would see each other on weekends occasionally. Then I found out again he was messaging / requesting girls online. So I broke up with him and went into no contact. He was messaging me, calling me, came all the way from out of town to beg me back to times, and was even sending me money anytime I needed it. Then around the beginning of May this year, just recently, I noticed he wasn't calling or texting as much as he would. He would go days up to 2 weeks without contact, leaving me on red. Of course, I suspected he was seeing someone. Of course, he denied it, and he was still occasionally calling and texting me. He loved me, sending me money to help out all the way till the beginning of this month, June 3rd to be exact, when he last sent money to help me. Then one day, about a week ago, he blocked me on Facebook. Wow. He blocked me on Facebook and my friend. Found out he posted a pic of his new girlfriend. Wow. On his background pic on Facebook, she's 23. I haven't tried to reach out to him and won't. I'm confused. I've heard when a man truly loves you, he will beg to be with you and invest in you. He did those things till the beginning of this month and suddenly changed. Part 2 below. My questions are, did he ever love me at all? Was I a placeholder, a sugar mama, and he was using me for 5 years? Do you think he will ever try to reach out again? Why do I say I've never heard of a man who loves you? Wait, what? I've never heard if a man loves you, you won't be confused. You'll know by his actions. That's true. But that's why I'm confused. He was putting in and investing for a long time. I'm sure, of course, he loved me. He never would have cheated either. If he loved me, he never would have cheated either. I'm driving myself crazy with all the. Why don't you just say love? Why do you keep putting the heart? I'm confused. Sorry, it just confuses me every time you do that. I'm driving myself crazy with all these questions. Please answer if you can. I know I shouldn't care. I know there was a big age gap, but I loved him. I need to know to be with someone my age or older. And he's young and I need to let him go. I've been keeping myself busy working on myself at the gym. I'm just trying to accept that it's finally over. I should be with someone who treated me right, but I'm heartbroken. And maybe because we were together 5 years, why did he do all of this? I need advice on getting over the breakup, please. Okay? It's funny you answered what I was questioning. Sorry to make the emojis abbreviations. I don't usually use them. Okay. So Anonymous, I think in your situation, to be honest with you, this is the problem with age gaps. I'm not going to age shame you, but guys at 27 years old, if he is, obviously a lot of different guys have different preferences, but there's a high likelihood that if he's 27 and he's looking up to date someone who's that much more older than him, he's looking for the advantage he can gain from dating a woman who's that much more older than him. So it seems like when it was advantageous to him, because I think based on what I'm understanding of what you were saying, you were paying for stuff in the beginning, right? And when it was more advantageous for him because you were the one that was able to help him and kind of take care of him a little bit. That's kind of when he had the relationship with you. But then as he got on his feet and then now he was able to take care of you a little bit and money wasn't as much of the issue, it seemed like now as his needs transitioned, so did his desire for you, right? And once it was no longer advantageous for him to date a woman who was that much older than him, and get the benefit of you being able to help him out, he then went to what he was always interested in, which was a younger woman closer to his age. I don't think it has as much to do with you as it has to do with his needs changing. And as his needs changed, right, then the advantage he was getting by being with a woman that much older than him stopped being an advantage because he didn't need any extra money or he didn't need someone to help him get on his feet. And so when he stopped needing that, he kind of stopped in turn needing you. And so I don't want to say that he never loved you, but I'll say that his love was attached to his love was attached to how much he needed you. And when he stopped needing you as much, his love started to dwindle away from you. And when he stopped needing you for what he needed you for at the beginning, he started to transition into what he was naturally interested in. Not to say that you're not beautiful or amazing or still have a lot of value at 42, but I do have to be honest with you. If a man doesn't have money or is in a low situation or in a bad spot, and then he's with you, and then as soon as he gets out of his bad spot, he goes and looks for a different type of girl, that should tell you that the type of girl he was always looking for, he just couldn't access because he was in a bad spot. So he accessed the woman he could access when he was in a bad spot, and then when he actually got into the place he wanted to be in, and he was able to access the girls he wanted to have access to, he went ahead and did that. And that's what it seems like happened here in this situation, okay? So I think in terms for you, I think the best thing for you to do is accept that it did happen. I know that's easier said than done, but you can't be thinking about him coming back to you because the truth of the matter is, if he spent 5 years with you, he knows what he's getting with you. He knows who you are. And if he popped out with a new girlfriend now that he's doing better in life, that's because that's what he always wanted to do. So I don't think there's any realm of possibility that he comes fumbling and stumbling back to you unless he randomly goes broke again and he needs assistance again. So unfortunately, that's how I kind of see it. It was advantageous at one point for him, but now that it's not, he doesn't really care much to be with you. And I think for you, the better decision for the future would be to try and date men a little bit closer to your age, just because they'll have similar needs and wants to you, and you won't have to confuse yourself going crazy thinking, are you with me because of what I can do for you, or are you with me because this is genuinely what you're interested in, what you want, you know? It can be kind of tough dating people with that large of an age gap like that. Okay, so that was the show for today. I hope you guys got some value from that. If you have any questions that if I didn't get to answer your question in the live stream today, don't worry. I will answer your question. We have all week for me to go into the Discord and answer your questions. We got tons, but I definitely will get to your question at some point. So don't you worry. All right. If you didn't get a chance to submit your question, go into the Discord. It's the link in my bio if you're on TikTok, or it's the link in my description if you're on YouTube, where you can ask your question there. And I will answer it live on the show and give you my opinion, advice, etc., etc. And so we'll chat. Okay. If you want to go follow me on Instagram because you love me so much, you want to see everything I'm doing 24/7, all times of the day, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram. It's right above my head on the left side of the screen if you're on TikTok, and right on the bottom right if you're on YouTube. Okay. And for those of you who are on TikTok and you want to see this entire live stream, maybe you missed part of it and you want to get the whole thing, you go right onto my YouTube. It's right above my head. Just type in my name, or you can screenshot this and type in my name on YouTube, and you'll find my profile. And you just go over to my YouTube page, go over to the live section. You'll find this live stream along with every other live stream from the past, with the YouTube and TikTok live chat embedded in the video, so that you'll be able to follow along with every conversation that was going on in the span of the video. Okay. So on that being said, I'm here every weekday, Monday to Friday. So you can join me live again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm here every weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So you got to figure out what time that is in your time zone. Until then, arrivederci, au revoir, hasta la vista, goodbye. I will see you again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll have another conversation about love, life, and relationships. Okay. Until then, I love you so much. See you tomorrow. Okay.